So you're finally going for it, huh? Your group wants to try something new, something a bit different, something a bit more thick. You've all decided to give Pathfinder 2e a shot, and you have no idea what to expect from your first session. Well, that's exactly what this video is for. Howdy, my name is Nonat, and everyone has to do something for the first time. Even die-hard fans and experienced players had to play their favorite game for the first time. I'm here today to give you some warnings and helpful advice to help avoid some mistakes and pitfalls that could leave a sour taste in your mouth during your first Pathfinder 2e session. The PF2 system is a wonderful game, and I'd hate to see somebody dislike it due to one bad session. So let's talk about how to make that session go as smooth and engaging as possible. Before we get started, if this video is helpful to you, please do consider leaving a like. The more likes and comments a video gets, the more likely the mighty YouTube algorithm is to share it with people who might need to see it. And if you want to see more tabletop content just like this, please do subscribe to the channel. When going into your first session of Pathfinder 2e, I highly recommend you either play a pre-generated character or make your character ahead of time. Do not show up to the table without a character thinking, oh, I'll just throw one together in 5 minutes. It can't be that hard. Character creation in Pathfinder 2e is a deep and detailed process, and it's also incredibly fun, but it's not quick. I'll leave a link in the description to the pre-generated characters available completely for free at paizo.com. They even provide them at different levels. I'm not going to lie, you'll likely get at least a little bit lost during your first time making a character in Pathfinder 2e. I highly recommend you either watch a guide like this one, even though it's kind of old and cringy, or you get some help from someone who already knows what they're doing. The core rulebook doesn't do an amazing job of guiding you through the process. Alternatively, you can use something like Path Builder 2e on your mobile device or the Wanderer's Guide on a browser. Either of these are fantastic programs that help you make a character step by step that makes it so you can't really screw up. Path Builder can even export your character directly to a PDF of the official character sheet, so you can use that after building your character within the program. One of the most intimidating aspects of Pathfinder 2e for new players is the feat system. Every single time your character levels up, you will get at least one new feat. And there are 4 distinct types of feat, each doing something different and coming from a different source. Class feats are gained every 2 levels and will typically give you more options in combat. But not always. Some class feats do enhance roleplay capabilities. Ancestry feats are abilities and features gained directly from your ancestry or race. These can include things like Nimble Elf or Goblin Lore. General feats improve the general aspects of your character: weapon and armor proficiencies, movement speed, initiative rolls, etc. Finally, skill feats are often roleplay focused and give you unique options you can use with the different skills in the system, though some of them are still usable in combat, especially for more combat focused skills like athletics or intimidation. Okay, so you have your character, you have your dice, you have your friends. Now you play the game. The game is divided into 3 game modes, but most tables don't define them this way. Technically, there is encounter mode, exploration mode, and downtime mode, but most tables I've played at just sort of play the game, and it's up to the GM what the players can do at any specific time. I've never been at a table where the GM says, okay, now you're in exploration mode. Alright, now let's get into the meaty part of the game that I'm sure most of you are interested in. Encounters. Specifically, combat. Combat encounters in Pathfinder 2e are wildly different from any other tabletop RPG, and that's due in no small part to the 3-action economy of the system. You see, many other games like D&D and even 1st edition Pathfinder have different types of actions. Move actions, standard actions, free actions, full round actions, etc. Pathfinder 2e just has actions, and everything has an action cost from 0 to 3. 0 being a completely free action, and 3 actions taking your entire turn. For example, dropping an item is 0 actions. Making a melee attack is 1 action, and many feats or spells cost 2 or even 3 actions to use. At the start of each of your turns, your character is given 3 actions to use however they like. This is true for anyone and everyone and can only be changed through spells like haste or slow. You have complete freedom with these actions. You can spend all 3 of them moving. You can move twice and attack. You can cast a 2-action spell and make a 1-action melee strike. The choice is completely up to you. As long as you have the actions to spend, you can take that action. Now this may sound crazy. You can attack 3 times at level 1 no matter what class you are, but the game is balanced around it. Pathfinder 2e has something called a multiple attack penalty. After you attack for the first time, you have 1 multiple attack penalty. This means your second attack on the same turn will be at -5 and give you another penalty, making your third attack at -10. This makes attacking 3 times on the same turn pretty inefficient, but you could also just press your luck and hope you get that natural 20 even at your -10 bonus. Speaking of natural 20s, something you need to accept going into Pathfinder 2nd Edition is that you will get way more critical hits than other tabletop systems. You are also going to get critically hit way more often than other tabletop systems. The average damage for Pathfinder 2e is far higher than others. In PF2, if you beat any DC by 10 or more, it is considered a critical success. This applies to skill checks, saving throws, and yes, attack rolls. If an attacker beats their target's armor class by 10 or more, it is a critical hit, even if the dice does not show a 20. This means that if a monster has a +12 to hit against a player who only has an armor class of 18, that's not only a 75% chance to hit, but also a 25% chance to critically hit. This makes every single bonus and penalty, no matter how minor, so important within the system. One of my favorite quotes about this game is that armor class in PF2 is not about not getting hit. It's about not getting crit. For all of the GMs out there preparing to run their first session of Pathfinder, this all applies to you too. The 3-action economy, the multiple attack penalty, the critical hit system, it all applies to monsters the exact same way it applies to players. Unless a monster is unintelligent or in a furious rage, it probably won't swing wildly with all 3 of its actions. Use those 3 actions to make the fight more dynamic. Step away to create some distance. Use an athletics check to grab a player or intimidate them to demoralize and inflict a penalty. Just like any system, your encounters are going to be far more interesting if you use everything a monster has to offer, and the freedom of the 3-action economy makes this easier than ever. Oh, by the way, monsters hurt in this system. A single monster has about the same power as 2 player characters of the same level. This leads to more hit points, higher armor class, and most importantly, a higher chance to hit. And remember, if there's a higher chance to hit, that's a higher chance to crit. Monsters critically hitting players is not an uncommon thing in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, so go into the game mentally accepting that. There's a reason the heal spell is so freaking powerful. Now, between all of that combat, of course, is the roleplay. And the roleplay aspect of Pathfinder 2nd Edition is pretty much the same as most other tabletop RPGs. Get into character, make the choices that you believe your character would make, don't ruin other people's fun, and enjoy yourself. The biggest issue I've found for new players is that they get somewhat overwhelmed by their character sheet, especially because the system gives you tools you can use in roleplay situations. You might have a skill feat like Hobnobber that makes you better at gathering information. Well, a new player might look at this and think, well, I have this skill feat, I need to use it, so I should be actively trying to gather information. Rather than doing it that way, just roleplay like usual, and if you happen to need to gather information, check your character sheet and apply the bonus. Trying to actively use all of your abilities as mechanics can take you out of the roleplay of the game and turn it into a much more mechanical interaction rather than a natural roleplay experience. Of course, this is a total personal preference of mine. If you would rather your roleplay be more mechanical and easy to track, by all means, go for it. Your game is your game, just as long as you and your whole table are enjoying yourselves. I would also be remiss to not mention the fantastic setting that Pathfinder takes place in by default. Of course, you can use these rules in any setting you'd like, but do yourself a favor and look into the lore of Galarian. The world is deep and the lore is extensive. Even the core rulebook has 25 pages just dedicated to telling you about the Inner Sea region, which is where the setting takes place primarily. And Paizo is constantly releasing new books in their Lost Omens line. Sure, these books introduce some new mechanics and expand some rules, but for the most part, they're all about lore and giving you more information on different regions and locales within the setting. Now that we've discussed mechanics and roleplay, let's talk about getting into your first game of Pathfinder. One problem that plagues the TTRPG genre is that trying a game for the first time usually comes with some kind of monetary cost. You need to buy the books, or at least a starter kit. Whether it's City of Mist, D&D, or even the Pathfinder 2e Beginner's Box, unless you're a pirate, you're gonna be shelling out some cash. But what if I told you Paizo's got you covered? Sure, the books are pricey, but they're also completely optional. The amazing folks over at Archives of Nethys run a fantastic website sponsored by Paizo themselves that includes every single rule from the core rulebook to the newest supplement completely free for all players. And GMs, I guess. But GMs are players too. This means if you ever want to give Pathfinder 2e a shot, all you need is an internet connection. And if you're watching this video, I assume you have one. The only resource that Archives of Nethys doesn't have is pre-made adventures, and Paizo offers those in droves. Paizo offers 3 distinct types of modules for Pathfinder 2e: one-shots, standalone adventures, and adventure paths. A one-shot is exactly what it sounds like, a single-session adventure for about 3 to 5 hours. A standalone adventure is a bit meatier, usually about 60 to 70 pages long, and will take about 3, 4, or sometimes even more sessions depending on your players and how much time they take. Finally, Paizo is easily most proud of their adventure paths. These are gargantuan, full campaigns that take your players from level 1 to level 20 over the course of 6 distinct books. They have a couple of shorter ones from levels 1 to 10 or 11 to 20, but most of them are 1 to 20. There are currently 4 finished adventure paths already available and 3 more on the way within the next 12 months. If you're looking for a great first experience with Pathfinder 2e, I can't recommend Abomination Vaults enough. It is a classic dungeon crawl that takes players from level 1 to level 10 with a story that expands as they go deeper. Or you can just play a homemade game for free. That's what I do. And those are my big tips and warnings for enjoying your first session of Pathfinder 2e. Did I miss anything? Did any of these tips really help you out? Let me know by leaving a comment down below. In the end, don't overthink things. Like any TTRPG, Pathfinder 2nd Edition is a game to enjoy and have fun with your friends. If you just want to focus on the roleplay, go for it. Every rule is optional. If you want to min-max and manipulate the system to make the strongest characters possible, more power to you. If you're having fun, that's awesome. I have loved Pathfinder 2e, and it's become my favorite system over the past 2 years. I sincerely hope you all get to enjoy it as much as I have. Thank you all so much for watching. I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons who are on screen right now. If you want to support the channel just like them, there is a link in the description to the Known At One's Patreon where you can support me financially and unlock some cool benefits. Remember, if you liked this video and it helped you out at all, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more tabletop gaming content just like this. Thank you all so very much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and until next time, Known At One.